Hello everybody, my name is Mark Mello and I'm a park ranger at Blackstone River Valley National Historical Park, and I'm excited to welcome you to this week's Ranger Chat. We talk a lot about the Industrial Revolution here in the Blackstone River Valley, and rightly so, because this is the birthplace of the American Industrial Revolution. But a lot of other important things also happened within the Blackstone River Valley that we don't talk a lot about here. And one of those things specifically is the founding of Providence, the southernmost part of the Blackstone River Valley, in 1636 by Roger Williams. And Williams was one of the first people to make the argument and actually put into practice the ideas of separation of church and state and freedom of religion, a story which our friends at Roger Williams National Memorial in Providence talk a lot about. But this week, we're going to take both of those stories, this idea of freedom of religion, separation of church and state, and the birth of the American Industrial Revolution at Slater Mill, and we're going to combine the two into a very interesting story that happened not that long ago in the 1980s. Believe it or not, the Old Slater Mill complex was once at the heart of a Supreme Court case regarding the First Amendment in the separation of church and state. Hodgson Rotary Park is the approximately 1-acre open space next to the Wilkinson Mill. This property, owned by the nonprofit Old Slater Mill Association, was home to a holiday display paid for and constructed by the City of Pawtucket in partnership with the Downtown Retailers Association. The annual display included a Santa Claus house, reindeer pulling Santa's sleigh, candy-striped poles, a Christmas tree, carolers, cut-out characters of a clown, elephant, and a teddy bear, hundreds of colored lights, and a large banner reading Season's Greetings, and the object that lay at the heart of the eventual Supreme Court case, a creche depicting the nativity scene of Christ's birth. By the early 1980s, the creche had been part of the display for nearly 40 years. However, a new scene had been purchased in 1973, costing the city $1,365. The city estimated that the yearly cost for assembling the creche was $20 per year, and a nominal expense for the lights associated with the scene. Pawtucket residents, most of whom were affiliated with the Rhode Island chapter of the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, filed a lawsuit against the city in 1983. The original plaintiff, Daniel Donnelly, was a resident and registered voter of Pawtucket. Dennis M. Lynch, the mayor of Pawtucket, was the lead defendant. Rhode Island U.S. District Court heard the first round of the case. Their findings held that the city's involvement with the creche violated the Establishment Clause that requires states to ensure the rights of all citizens through the 14th Amendment. By including the creche, the court claimed the city violated the First Amendment and has, quote, tried to endorse and promulgate religious beliefs, and that erection of the creche has the real and substantial effect of affiliating the city with the Christian belief that the creche represents, end quote. The court ordered the city to remove the creche from the display. Mayor Lynch and his legal team appealed the lower court's ruling to the First Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals. The higher court upheld the lower court's ruling, but the panel of judges was divided. By 1984, the case was before the U.S. Supreme Court. In a 5-4 vote, the court ruled in favor of the city and overturned the rulings of the lower courts. The creche would stay as a part of the display. In the majority opinion, Chief Justice Warren Burger wrote that the Free Exercise Clause and the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution was intended to, quote, prevent as far as possible the intrusions of either the church or the state into the precincts of the other, end quote. The court has recognized, he continued, that, quote, total separation is not possible in an absolute sense. Some relationship between government and religious organizations is inevitable, end quote. The court further noted that the often used analogy of a wall between church and state was simply impossible. The court believed that the city was not trying to advocate a particular religious message over another, and that the creche had legitimate purpose to be included in the display. The court further noted that no institution could exist within a vacuum or in total isolation. Quote, nor does the Constitution require complete separation of church and state. Rather, it affirmatively mandates accommodation, not merely tolerance, of all religions, and forbids hostility to any. End quote. The court also argued that the government had long subsidized and recognized religious practices and holidays. Citing the opening prayer in Congress, a tradition started with the first Congress that continues to this day, and paying government employees for holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas. In addition, the city's expenses for maintaining and displaying the creche were minimal, and that money was not aiding a specific religious or church-sponsored organization. But the court was divided. 4 justices dissented from the majority ruling, citing the lower court's arguments. So what do we make of this case, which took place in the state which Roger Williams, the great pioneer of religious liberty and separation of church and state, founded? Well, I guess it's complicated. Although we like things to be clear and simple, most issues are not. Is there a wall between church and state which completely prohibits the interaction of the two? Is the relationship more complex? Should Christmas be considered a national holiday? What about Easter or Thanksgiving? Should children be allowed time to pray in public schools? Should bakers be allowed to not sell products to a person or group of people because of their religious beliefs? Should a person be allowed to marry multiple people if their religion allows or supports that? These are all complicated questions, which we as a nation still attempt to work through today. The Constitution, as many say, is a living document, and interpretation can and will change over time. The question remains for us as a nation today, though. How do we view the tenets of religious freedom and separation of church and state? And how will our children and their children's views be different than our own? Many questions for us still to answer in our own time, and it'll be interesting to see how future generations view similar issues as well. With that being said, I want to thank you for joining us here. As always, if you have any comments or questions, please leave those down below. We would love to hear from you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you out there along the Blackstone really soon.